What's going on, everybody? If you're seeing this page, that means the official Torian Rain Reloaded merch store is now available. To get access to the store, make sure you go ahead and click the store tab on my YouTube channel. From there, you will be able to see all the merch that is available. We have mugs, shirts, hoodies, joggers, and so much more to come. All original designs made by yours truly, Torian Rain Reloaded. Now go ahead and get your merch today, and you can feel nothing in style. When I had initially started to do this video, I only intended to come on here to do one topic. But then I don't know what compelled me to go onto Google and type in these words: illegal immigrant arrest New York, because I couldn't figure out for the life of me what the story was, because I forgot, but I just knew the face, only to find out I actually DM'd the story to myself, but I forgot that I did. And it's a good thing that I went and Googled it instead, because what one story was going to be for me to talk about, one story led into three stories that I'm going to talk about. One of them, if y'all watch TBA, he spoke about it on one of his recent broadcasts. Another one just happened like in the last few hours of me recording this video, and another one happened like 2 weeks ago. Of course, by the time y'all see this video, it'll have been over 3 weeks ago, probably a little bit more. But they all came out of New York, and they all deal with the migrants or the illegal aliens up there. And I had to range them. I said, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about just one story and then another one and another one in three separate videos. I said, I'm going to blitz this thing and talk about all three of them in one video. So I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I'm just giving y'all that little disclaimer right here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and tackle the first story, that the more lighter story, I should say. That was posted September 2nd, 2023. Migrant woman arrested after slapping NYPD cop trying to confiscate her unregistered motorbike outside of a New York City shelter. A migrant woman was arrested after she slapped an NYPD officer who was attempting to confiscate her unregistered motorbike in front of a Manhattan shelter for asylum seekers earlier this week. The arrest came as several people were caught on camera tussling with cops as they tried to conduct a scooter crackdown Thursday at West 71st Street and Broadway on the Upper West Side, steps from the Stratford Arms Hotel, which is being used as a migrant shelter according to police. Get back, an officer is heard warning the crowd in the clip before ushering a young man away from the bike onto the sidewalk as he warned, "Bro, you're going to get arrested." Babaya Rodriguez, age 20, was charged with resisting arrest, obstruction of governmental administration, and harassment after she hit an officer with an open hand around 10:30 p.m. according to police. She had been arrested in July for felony assault in connection with an attack on her boyfriend in a Bronx apartment and was currently being housed at the Stratford Arms, police said. The incident and arrest was first reported by West Side Rag. Some Stratford Arms neighbors, led by Joe Germanotta, the father of pop singer Lady Gaga, have voiced concerns about its new residents to city officials, claiming residents have inundated the area with trash, drugs, and public disturbances. The worst part's at night, the noise. It starts about 10 o'clock and it'll go until 4 in the morning. Playing music and racing their motocross and motorbikes up and down the streets, Germanotta, age 66, told the Post last month. Thursday's scooter crackdown came after community complaints, according to police. The NYPD confiscated 4 mopeds, 1 motorcycle, and 1 scooter, in addition to 9 bicycles that NYPD said were illegally chained to a pole, West Side Rag reported. So that was the first story, and like I said, that one is pretty light compared to what it is I'm going to start getting into after this one. But that's bad enough, because again, small problems lead to bigger problems. And I thought it was interesting that they interviewed Lady Gaga's father, so he's still in the area, in that region. Maybe he doesn't want to leave, but I'm gonna be honest, if my daughter was Lady Gaga, I'm getting up out of there. I'm finding a way to get up out of there. But now, as you can see, it's becoming an inconvenience to other people. You know, at first, you know, they had to do the testing ground with black folks, but now it's starting to spread into other regions, that in areas that doesn't have a lot of black people there. So that was the first story. Now, this next story, if y'all watch TBA, he actually talked about it on one of his broadcasts a couple weeks ago, when he was talking about like various forms of what we consider PC on PC crime or PC on PC brawls that mainstream media doesn't like to talk about. He actually highlighted this story in the second half of that. But if this is your first time catching this, then you know, so be it. And if you live in New York, you probably already heard about it. So this one too was also posted on September 2nd, 2023, just like the previous story I just did, where it says a migrant was arrested 6 times for 14 crimes in just the first 2 months, in their first 2 months of being in New York. He is the wanted poster boy for the migrant crisis. A man who arrived in New York City 2 months ago from Venezuela has randomly attacked at least 3 strangers and 2 cops and gotten arrested and released 6 times on 14 different charges, police and sources said. That's quite an opener for somebody who, that whole paragraph, and it's small, that's a lot. 6 times released, gotten arrested and released 6 times on 14 different charges. That is insane. Daniel Hernandez Martinez, age 29, arrived on June 27th and allegedly committed his first crime the following day. He's been wreaking havoc, a cop with more than 20 years on the job said. This is not an isolated incident. These migrants are getting arrested quite often here, and we really don't know who they are. They really don't have ID, which means they don't have ID. They're not being vetted properly, which is something I've said before. I said, y'all are just letting a criminal element just flourish and just come right into the establishment like it's nothing. No vetting process, no identification, nothing. You're just letting them come right on in and nest and get acquainted. And this guy didn't even get properly acquainted after being here a day. He couldn't wait to go out and commit some criminal acts. He didn't even get his feet wet in the new town, and he's already like having a criminal record, which lets you know this is probably what he was like back in his homeland in Venezuela. He said they're not being vetted properly, but some of them are committing some of the most violent crimes here. And the thing is, it's only going to get worse, because where he will slack off, which it doesn't sound like he will, others will pick up. Martinez's alleged crime spree started at a Costco at 976 3rd Avenue in Brooklyn. Martinez stole a jar of Nutella, slippers, sneakers, hats, Gillette razor blades, and Dove body wash, cops said. He was charged with petty larceny and released on his own recognizance. On July 6th, he allegedly hit a Dwayne Reed in Columbus Circle in Manhattan, this time stealing a toolkit. The next day, he escalated from shoplifting to assault. A security guard at Dwayne Reed on West 35th in Manhattan tried to stop him from pilfering a bag of chips and toothpaste. He pulled out a large knife and advanced toward an undercover officer while yelling unintelligibly, court documents show, which basically, like Jason Black said in his video, he was most likely yelling in Spanish or Portuguese, I would assume. Martinez was charged with menacing this time, but again released on his own recognizance because the charge wasn't bail eligible. See, they keep doing this over and over again. He's going to keep committing crime, which when you think about it, when he was released after that first or second time, he ended up escalating his crime like the article suggested, because he knows that he's constantly getting away with it. Like I said before, it's going to take for him to actually take someone out, to delete somebody, for them to actually do something. And it shouldn't get to that point, but it's going to be at that point when they're going to say, oh, light bulb moment, let's go ahead and deal with the situation at hand. 3 weeks later, on July 31st, he attacked Jeffrey Braddock, age 52, out of the blue with a bike tire in front of the Row Hotel, a migrant shelter in Times Square, according to authorities. Now, isn't that interesting? Because in the last story, wasn't that incident happening near the shelter or near a shelter? I'm not sure if it was the same one, but it was again near a shelter, and it dealt with, again, a bike. Braddock, an independent journalist who said he was there to document the migrant influx, had previously interviewed Martinez and was baffled about why he was attacked. I did a nice interview with the guy, said Braddock, who posts his videos about the migrants on social media and has nearly 1 million likes and 48,000 followers on TikTok. He hit me with the bike tire and I called police, Braddock said. Then he jumped the dumpster and a really fit cop ran after him, but the guy got away. Martinez was arrested about a week later when Braddock, who had filed a criminal complaint, spotted him in front of the hotel again and notified cops stationed there. On August 21st, he violently attacked a woman in Midtown, cops said. He grabbed a stranger by the hair, dragged her across the floor and kicked her, and smashed her phone on West 45th Street around 1 a.m., court documents showed. He was charged with menacing, assault, criminal mischief, and weapon possession and placed on supervised release. 3 days later, he was arrested for menacing with a weapon and harassment after threatening a stranger with a chain in front of 701 8th Avenue, cops said. He was again released with no bail. Then 4 days later, on August 28th, he was arrested for using a large metal pipe to break locks to steal bicycles in Times Square. Cops charged him with petty larceny, criminal mischief, and possession of stolen property and burglary tools. Keep it in mind, he's doing all these criminal things. He's getting all these charges. He's constantly getting released. Not once were any of these charges labeled as a felony charge, which would actually be something to hold him with. These are basically all labeled down to what I believe or see as misdemeanors, when they definitely shouldn't be. Like this guy has a long rap sheet and he hasn't even been here 6 months. He requested medical attention and was taken to Beth Israel Hospital. While there, he assaulted a police officer who was trying to change his handcuffs, kicking him twice in the shins and stomping on his foot. He was charged with assaulting a police officer. Martinez has been arrested 5 times in less than 2 months for charges of harm nearly every time. ADA Jared Hotchkiss wrote in a bail application. He also pointed out that Martinez has an open case in Brooklyn, a 6th arrest for petty larceny on which 3 bench warrants have been issued because he didn't show up for court. Prosecutors requested $10,000 bail and $10,000 bond for the cop assault case, but the judge set the bail at $5,000 and Martinez was sent to Rikers Island. Well, it looks like they finally sent him to a place where he can't really maneuver the way he wants, but I would never lower that bail. Honestly, with someone like him, with the record he's already built in already, he wouldn't have a bail anyway. He would just stay there until he has to be seen in a courtroom. The U.S. State Department, Venezuelan Consulate, and Homeland Security didn't answer questions about Martinez's criminal history in Venezuela and how he made it into the U.S. He probably got in there the same way everybody else did. I mean, he probably just hopped on a boat and swam over here and slithered his way in just like everybody else. But again, peep the pattern here. We've already did once the first story, like that was real light. This one was a little bit more heavy, but notice the criminal element there. And why I put the thumbnail up the way that I did and the way I titled this video, because New York literally has a new criminal class on their hands, and they're not black people the way that they want it to be or how they wanted it to be at one particular time. And one thing I'm going to hate is when they're going to continue to try to do that black and brown thing, and what's going to end up happening is they're going to try to lump us in like they've been doing with that criminal element there. That's why I said don't do the black and brown thing, and do not do the POC thing, because that's what they're literally going to try to do when it comes to them. But if you thought that one was bad, this one might take the cake. And it's crazy because that last one had a lot of stuff going on, but this one is probably one of the worst ones because this person committed a major cardinal sin, and that is him violating this woman. And not only doing that, but he was rephrase that. He was wanted by ICE but was released under this controversial New York bail reform, and then he got arrested again for violating somebody. That's literally what it says. Migrant wanted by ICE, released under controversial New York bail reform, arrested again on a violation charge. And I think his name is Cruz Garcia. Now, this story was posted August 17, 2023. I want y'all to keep this in mind. These 3 stories that y'all are hearing right now, many of you did not hear about it. Y'all might have heard about the second one, but I guarantee you probably didn't hear about this one or the first one. And all of them were posted within a month's time, and all from the same state, might I add. Prosecutors say an illegal immigrant who was wanted by ICE and released under New York's controversial bail reform laws has been arrested again, this time for the alleged brutal violation of a woman. Cruz Garcia, age 43, was indicted for first-degree violations, first-degree unlawful imprisonment, and second-degree strangulation by a Delaware County grand jury on August 10th. In first announcing the indictment Tuesday, Delaware County Acting District Attorney Sean Smith said Garcia is accused of strangling the victim until the point that she nearly lost consciousness on July 25th. Garcia is accused of unlawfully restraining the victim under circumstances that expose her to serious physical injury. Prosecutors say he forcibly engaged in sexual intercourse without the victim's consent by means of forcible compulsion, and the victim was transported to the hospital emergency room because of the injuries she sustained. The alleged attack unfolded about a month and a half after Garcia had been released in a case where he had been charged with separate unrelated felonies from Orange County. Garcia was arraigned on June 12th in Orange County Court on charges including felony DWI and first-degree aggravated unlicensed operation. Unfortunately, due to New York State's bail reform laws, the defendant was automatically released from custody on those felony charges. This defendant lacks any legal status in the United States, and he was wanted by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, due to an unrelated criminal conviction prior to the Orange County indictment or this indictment. Garcia is currently in ICE custody in Batavia, New York, awaiting deportation hearings. That's the first time we've heard in these last two stories of the words deportation, and hopefully the deportation hearings for this man stick, where to the point where they can send him back. What we are seeing is a preventable tragedy precipitated by Albany's bail reform laws and failed migrant policy, Representative Mark Bellinero of New York said. We need to stop accepting failed policies that put families in our communities in danger. There is nothing controversial or partisan about prioritizing the safety of upstate New Yorkers. I once again call for bipartisan action. This case clearly highlights the dual failures of Albany and Washington, Republican State Senator Peter Oberracher added in a statement. The absence of any practical immigration policy, coupled with the proven debacle known as bail reform, is endangering public life on a daily basis. Dangerous criminals continue to receive a pass here in New York State, and our police and prosecutors are forced to continually fight upstream to do their jobs. As a sponsor and co-sponsor of several bills to end bail reform in New York, I will continue to advocate for a return to sanity and safety of our streets. Smith commended New York State Police for their investigation into the case, as well as the Safe Against Violence staff for supporting the victim. The prosecutor vowed to make sure Garcia is held accountable for the alleged crimes before any deportation proceedings are completed. New York enacted bail reform measures in 2020 under former Governor Andrew Cuomo. In the State of the State address, Governor Kathy Hochul, who was Cuomo's lieutenant governor, acknowledged the controversy surrounding bail reform while standing by its righteous goals in declaring the size of someone's bank account should not determine whether they sit in jail or return home before they even have been convicted of a crime. And now it's biting them in the ass now, because look at what you just let back out onto the street. Look what came over here, and then this man literally was wanted by ICE. I don't know how long he was here before ICE was on his radar or on his bumper, but on ICE's radar. But I don't think he was here this long. He gets out under this bail reform law, and then he does what? He goes and violates this woman. See what I tell you? It's not enough for them to do what is considered a low-level crime, and then all of a sudden what happens is they get out and they allow them to get back into society to quote-unquote reform themselves, and then they commit these kinds of acts. There's no reforming this dude. Whatever he was doing before he got over here, it's a reason why he left there. He came over here to continue his acts of criminality. What he was doing back at home, he brought the bad habit over here. Bail reform is not the primary driver of a national crime wave created by a convergence of factors, including the pandemic. Bail reform law as written now leaves room for improvement. Like I said, there's no reforming or improving that. This guy literally has told you with his actions what he's all about. This week, Hochul's attorney sent a 12-page letter ripping New York City Mayor Eric Adams' response to the arrival of some 100,000 migrants so far. Erie County in western New York has stopped accepting migrants under New York City's resettlement program after 2 migrants were arrested on sexual abuse and violation charges. So see, y'all are seeing a pattern here. And you want to know what's so crazy? I have my issues with 45. But he made a very valid statement when he was in office, and it had everything to do with what this guy did. And you can even say with the previous guy as well. He said, if you let them come over, and I'm just paraphrasing, he's like, if you let them come over here, you're bringing over a criminal element. That's literally what you're bringing over here. You have no idea what you're about to allow to come into this establishment. And the scary part about this whole situation is that it's New York today. It'll be somewhere else tomorrow that's going through this. It's some places already right now that are going through this. This is why a lot of people are pushing back, because look at what's going on in New York. New York is practically a litmus test for what is going to probably happen to the other 49 states. Probably less than that, because there are some places that are being affected right now that may not get the news coverage that New York is getting. I've heard places, of course, like Illinois, like specifically Chicago, people out in Minnesota, but that's more so with the Somalis. Now they're allowing, the Chinese to come in, and it's like, y'all are not vetting anybody. Y'all are just letting them just flow right on in and make a nest wherever they want to. And now we just have to just deal with it. Like, we are basically fighting for our survival as just American citizens against those who don't even have to become a citizen. Like Jason Black said, they just have to be a resident, because he says what you're looking at is your new working class. This is your new workforce that's coming in. And they said you don't have to be a citizen for that. Just be a resident. Just be an American resident, not an American citizen. But at the same time, as y'all saw with the 3 stories I just presented you, look at what they're bringing with them. They're bringing their bad, horrific habits across that border, no matter what landmass they come from across the pond, with them here. And then we get pulled into that, and we have to fight that off, as well as dealing with the usual day-to-day BS that we got to go through every single day. It's a lot. It's a lot. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all. Like I said, this is like a blitz, because usually I don't like to cover multiple stories in one video, but the opportunity presented itself right there. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do 3 different videos about this. Let me just go ahead and throw it all into one, especially since they all fell like really right behind each other in the same state, dealing with the same type of people. And the thing is, I could probably go onto Google and type that same phrasing in maybe a month from now, and it'll probably be 3 or more stories that'll pop right on up that are separate from this one, from these 3. That's the scary part. We are literally just still at the foundational stage of this. I don't even think they started to layer the bricks yet. This is only just the beginning, and we better be prepared. Also, need I remind you what Joe Biden said to a group of civil rights leaders a couple years ago, back in 2020. I'm gonna let this play a little bit just in case you need a refresher.
I've been around doing this for a long, long time. I don't always get it right, but I always take responsibility. When I get it wrong, I acknowledge I got it wrong. But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed, not just because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. Hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do in terms of raw numbers. We're going to have to be working with a whole group of people that in fact are the single most diverse democracy in American history.
So we all remember that. I hope y'all didn't forget, because I know I didn't forget. Now keep that in mind. He says we're going to have to start working with Hispanics. So you want us to work with the 3 type of people that was discussed in this video. Granted, not all of them are falling into that category, but it's a lot. And that's just 3 that I spoke on, because those were the 3 recent ones. But there will be 3 more, and there will be 3 more. and there will be 3 more. And he said by 2040. Imagine where we will be by 2040. That is less than 20 years from now. Waiting to see what kind of landscape we will be in by the time all of this comes into fruition. He said that the nation will be minority European white. But here's the kicker. That soon to be minority European white are the same majority right now European white that is helping to allow this to come into fruition. Oh yeah, you heard that correctly. The same ones that's sitting up here so-called complaining about what's going on are the same ones that's allowing this to happen. Do not let them sit up there and try to run that game on you like they are so surprised and shocked by what is occurring, because they're not. They are literally all for it. They are all in cahoots with each other. Why do you think I always say left wing, right wing, liberal, conservatives, Republican, Democrat? They are 2 wings attached to the same vulture, and I stand on that when I say it.